We've seen it so many times this season, haven't we? Disjointed. You can't say that Real Madrid unlucky. Once again, they just weren't good enough to get the job done.
And at times outplayed by Celta de Vigo. And we shouldn't be surprised now, because we keep coming and turning and saying, okay, this team is going to turn it around. This team is going to get it right. They're too good to not be getting the points. But it just feels like there are too many individual performances that are below par throughout the team.
Yep.
It's not just one or two guys. It's easy to point at Cristiano Ronaldo because, well, he attracts a lot of attention. And he's not playing well.
He was poor today.
Yes, he was poor. But across the board, you have a team that has difficulties. You go up against Celta de Vigo 2-1 after you give up that initial goal. But fine, there's a reaction. So you say, okay, well, now is where Real Madrid just kicks on. This is when Real Madrid takes over. And it was Celta de Vigo that was creating the chances. Real Madrid are finding answers or trying to find answers on each other, and everybody has questions on that team. Yeah. So when one guy turns to Ronaldo and says, are you going to resolve this? Well, he doesn't have the answers. Is Bale going to resolve this? He doesn't have the answer. Neither does Modric, neither does Cruz. Across the board, it's a team that is searching, and there are no answers to be found.
It's not a team.
No.
It's a bunch of individuals.
But it was a team 6 months ago.
Well, unfortunately, it's very easy to lose that cohesion than it is to get it. And right now, there is absolutely no cohesion in that side. And quite frankly, I've always said that Real Madrid, regardless of how good they were as a team, they had so many individuals that would actually get them out of trouble. Well, now they're getting themselves a point. They're not getting 3 points anymore. Bale's 2 goals, as well as they were taken, gets them a point. Gone are the days when somebody's coming up with something to win them games. And this is no surprise. Ali was absolutely spot on when he said, this team just has lost it. This team, it's not a surprise anymore. And the biggest culprit for me has to be the biggest name. You can't go and accept the Ballon d'Or and then perform the way he's performing, because the guy that picked the Ballon d'Or up is not the same guy who's stepping on the field for Real Madrid right now.
So it wasn't a good weekend for Barcelona because, of course, they won, Real Madrid lost. It was a great weekend for Barcelona because they finally got their man, Philippe Coutinho, 160 million euros, almost $200 million. They finally got it done. This after, Stevie, you telling us on Friday there was no way it was going to happen.
No, those weren't quite the words I used. just a little tweak to them. I said it didn't make any sense for Liverpool to do it now, and I was shocked when it went through.
What does this mean, big picture, for Liverpool?
It means they have funds to go and strengthen. Listen, to lose one of your best players, if not your best player, is always a blow. And it certainly doesn't help Liverpool in the chase for the top 4. It means that the likes of Lallana and Mane have to step up now. That is, of course, if they don't go and get anybody.
Sure.
But, listen, it means they have money. Again, we're asking a question of the owners. You know, I asked the question the first time they knocked back the Coutinho bid to show some intent, and they did. Well, now they've got to show some more intent by going and spending that money. And spending it wisely.
We'll talk about how maybe they can spend that money in a moment, but let's focus on what this means for Barcelona. The theory seems to be in Catalonia that Coutinho will eventually replace Iniesta. Can he fill those boots?
Well, I don't think anybody can fill the shoes of Andres Iniesta. Let's not forget how special of a talent and a player Iniesta has been, and when he and Xavi were playing together, what that did for that team. It changed the way that the game was played. It changed the ability of Barcelona to hold on to the ball in the way that they did.
By the way, how big is that smile?
It's all right.
Oh, what are his teeth?
He's really stressed out about the Liverpool fans, let me tell you. But in terms of what Barcelona does, is you're setting yourself for the future. Because as great as Iniesta has been, it's coming to the point to where Iniesta no longer plays a 90-minute game.
Sure.
It rarely does he play a 90-minute game. In fact, after 60 minutes, it feels like it's automatic that he's coming off. Coutinho is a different player than Iniesta, though. So it's not a straight swap. What I would do is that if I'm Andre Gomez and I'm his agent, you start searching somewhere else because you're not sticking around.
Poor Andre Gomez.
Yeah, I know you're not concerned about Andre Gomez. Nobody is.
Worth the money, Shaq, or is that irrelevant?
It's totally irrelevant at this point. And it's all about Barcelona and how they plan for the future at this point. Now, talking about replacements, I never feel that works out quite well. Cesc Fabregas was brought in as a Xavi replacement. But what Barcelona do have in Lionel Messi is a player that, never mind straight replacements, you can find a way and figure things out. You can change the way you play. You can get personnel to fit in. Easier said than done. I don't see Barcelona missing a step, but at the same time, I don't see Coutinho as a replacement for Iniesta.
But what it does for Barcelona, though, is not only does it give you depth, but it does allow, okay, if Iniesta cannot give us 90 minutes, we save him for Champions League. And now Coutinho comes in and plays La Liga games. It's not a drop-off.
It's not a bad option.
I mean, it's not.
Second most expensive player in the world
Hey,
to come
by the way,
off the
Coutinho, you want to
bench.
come and play a couple of minutes here? I mean, come on now.
Okay, let's play fantasy time, shall we? With Stevie Nicol, we asked you for your top 3 targets in which to spend all that cash. And who did you go for?
To be honest, I really... The Lamar one, I'm not 100%. The reason I threw Lamar in here is because when Coutinho was signed, there was big question marks whether he actually could reach the stage he's at now. That's why he's there. The other 2, I think, are no-brainers. Liverpool need a goalkeeper. This kid, no question, I don't know how many years it'll be, will one day be the best goalkeeper in the world. Try and go and get him right now, and then you've got a class goalie for the next 10 years. And listen, proper goalkeepers will save you between 10 and 15 points a season.
Right.
That's what Liverpool are missing right now with Mignolet. And Riyad Mahrez, listen, I'm going to go stato on you. His actual stats over the last 3 seasons are just as good as Coutinho's. Now, he's not as good a player as Coutinho, but the guy's a proven Premier League player who's a little bit special at times. So, listen, if you can get Mahrez, if you can get Donnarumma, then I think that makes Liverpool better.
It's a real sparkle in his eye. Should we bring in Gab to completely rain on your parade?
Yep, go ahead.
Right, Gab Marcotti with us. Gab, any chance of any of those targets from Steve Nicol proving true over the next couple of weeks?
Before I answer that, there's an important Coutinho point y'all have missed. When you talked about that big smile on his face, Philippe Coutinho, and it's reported in the papers on Monday here in England, gave up something like £11.5 million, that's in excess of, or close to $15 million of his own money to go and make this deal happen. So that's how badly he wanted to get out of town. That's how badly he wanted this deal to happen. And I think at that stage, that's really what put it over the edge. I don't know of too many other cases where professional footballers have dipped into their own pockets to go and facilitate a move to this extent with this much money in play.
So Coutinho hated Liverpool. We know that, right? So what about Stevie's targets?
No, but I was just going to say, like, it is really clever. In the end, it was a really clever move for Liverpool to get this fee. I don't think we can ignore that. Now, as for Stevie's targets there, Thomas Lemar, I don't think anybody's really excited to sign him. I think a lot of that is purely creation. Liverpool say they're not moving for him. Donnarumma would be really, really difficult at this stage, and would mean for Liverpool dealing with Mino Raiola all over again. I don't know that they want to open that Pandora's box. Mahrez has been mentioned, but then Liverpool have knocked that one back. Mahrez's entourage also knocking that one back. I think right now what Liverpool would like to do is try to bring Naby Keita in early. Of course, they've signed him for next summer. And remember, we're talking as if Liverpool are sitting on an enormous amount of money, but they also just spent £75 million on Virgil van Dijk, and they've committed £58 million to Naby Keita for the summer. So there's a lot of that money that's already tied up. It's not like they're sitting on some kind of enormous war chest that they now need to go out and spend. So my guess is they'll move hard for Keita in January. I don't know if they can persuade Leipzig to let him go.
Arsene Wenger over the last couple of seasons has very much hung his hat on success in the FA Cup. Well, they won't be winning it this year. Out in the third round, not very good. It was obviously a reserve team looking ahead to the clash against Chelsea, but it's still a defeat. It's still out of the cup.
As you said, this is his go-to to keep everybody happy. That's gone. And we saw, again, when you make so many changes, there's no cohesion, there's no partnerships, there's nothing. You're just relying on an individual to do something. And quite frankly, he's completely and utterly underestimated Nottingham Forest as well. You throw all that together, that's what you get. A rotten performance and a deserved loss.
They thoroughly deserve the win. Obviously, we won't be at the end of the season looking at Arsenal and criticising them or trying to analyse them because of their lack of FA Cup success, but it doesn't help, does it?
No, it doesn't. But at the same time, for all their recent success in the FA Cup, it's not kind of eased some of the pressures under Arsene Wenger. So he makes changes. And you look at this Arsenal side, look at the team he put out, despite all the changes. On paper, it's a team good enough to beat a team sitting mid-table in the Championship with one win in their last 8. I think the players have to take the responsibility here. It was absolutely dire. And rightly, we continue to question Arsenal's strength and depth.
To be fair, Shaka, Per Mertesacker, this guy's got a World Cup winner's medal. This guy in his prime was a fantastic central defender. Now, when you're actually putting somebody out who you know can't raise a gallop, I mean, you're asking for trouble. And you're actually embarrassing the player as well. I mean, on a couple of occasions, he was left one-on-one, and it was embarrassing how bad he was.
And I agree. And it's not just about Mertesacker, who's going to retire at the end of this season, but it's about players like Theo Walcott. It's about players like Holding, like El Neni, who you would think are either trying to get into the Arsenal first team or trying to get moves away.
Hey, Walcott's been trying to get in the Arsenal team for 10 years.
Right, now he's trying to get away. And I'm not sure that this does him any kind of justice.
But the truth is that Arsenal is not good enough, the way that they're put together, to be rotating players. They're not good enough to be doing that sort of stuff because and by the way, Per Mertesacker is still around because Arsene Wenger wants him around. Otherwise, you find ways of, okay, this guy's not going to help us. That guy's not going to help us. Theo Walcott has been under the watch of Arsene Wenger. He hasn't developed. Rob Holding, he's supposed to be young and up and coming. He's not. He's not young and he's not up and coming. All I'm saying is that all of this is happening under the watch of Arsene Wenger. And he has had, over the last few seasons, the FA Cup to hang his hat on. And he said, well, you know, we're bringing trophies.
Yeah.
Okay, well, now you're not bringing trophies. So now what? Now what happens?
A week into the transfer window, Gab, we've seen plenty of action already. We talked about Coutinho going to Barcelona. Have they made a move for someone else as well this weekend?
Yeah, they're very close to locking up a central defender, Yerry Mina, from Palmeiras, a big Colombian guy. I think he's like 6'5" or 6'6" or something. He's 23 years old. It's going to be roundabout, I think, 10, 11 million euros. And that move will enable them, I think, to let Javier Mascherano go, potentially to China, get some money back there, get his wages off the wage bill. And the other big move that they hope to make is extend Umtiti's contract to kind of get their house in order, because he still has that very low release clause of 60 million euros. Relatively low, anyway.
Well, certainly in the modern days, there's 60 million from Umtiti, of course, a French international. There have, of course, been rumours linking him to Manchester City. Is this just kind of the agent playing games, or is there a chance he may actually leave the camp now?
I mean, look, he still has several years remaining. He's certainly given the indication that he wants to stay. It's not 100% clear to me that if he were to move to City, he'd be an automatic choice, because I think the thinking around City is Otamendi's played really well. I think City may look for some cover defensively during this window, but I think Umtiti might be out of reach. Also, remember, of course, he's also cup-tied in the Champions League. Those are the kind of moves you generally see in the summer.
Let's talk about Arsenal for a bit. Obviously dumped out of the Cup. Alexis Sanchez, Mesut Ozil, end of their contract in the summer. We're going to be talking about this, I know, for the next couple of weeks, but out of the two, is it likely that either will move before the January transfer window ends?
If I had to guess, I would certainly lean towards Alexis Sanchez moving. Certainly, I think it's an open secret that Manchester City were very interested in him, and especially now, maybe with Gabriel Jesus's injury, the thinking is he might come on board. But then again, if you're City, you might also say, look, I'm running away with Premier League anyway. Why don't I just bring you in the summer, save myself some money? And remember, again, the fee that they'd be paying for Sanchez now is money that Sanchez could get they could save it themselves, and you get a big chunk of that in wages. Mesut Ozil, slightly different situation. The club say that, or Wenger anyway, has said that he's pretty confident that Ozil's is gonna extend his deal. But of course, he's been saying that for the last 18 months now. He's been linked again to Manchester United. I think United would have to shift somebody, most likely Mkhitaryan, to make that happen realistically.
Welcome to Extra Time. Can we talk about it?
Nope.
Okay, Shaq, let's talk about it, shall we?
Yes.
Guess what Shaq is doing this week?
Yep.
Doing like this, Shaq.
What?
New Trinidad for a couple of days.
What are you going to do there,
What are you doing
Shaq?
there?
Commercial.
Who's in this commercial? How many people?
As far as I'm aware, one.
Yeah!
It's a one-man show.
What?
It's a one-man
Shaka
show. The one-man
Hislop.
band.
Who's writing the script?
It's been written for.
Have you learnt your lines?
Not yet.
And it's for an alcoholic beverage, yes?
Correct.
Yes. Well, you're the correct man for that.
I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean, Alejandro.
Is Gab with us? Gab, do you want to chip
Yes,
in?
let's go to Gab,
Do you want to go
please.
to Gab?
Let's just go to Gab.
Right. So,
Uh-oh.
Shaka, it's not in. I was under the impression that it was going to be some sort of ensemble ad with other celebrity Trinidadians.
No, it's just
perhaps Rihanna, Frankie Fredericks.
They're not Trinidadians, Gabriele.
Oh.
Rihanna's from
Oh, I'm
Barbados.
sorry. Oh, my bad.
That's a Bolton. That's a Bolton.
Yes. He's from Trinidad.
But he's not welcome in this commercial.
What about Brian
next
Lara?
week.
Was he not
He's
available?
next week.
Yeah.
He was last week.
Really?
I don't know.
Hello, Brian. That's too much. Let's go Shaka.
I'm the cheap option.
Stevie. Oh no, there's a lot of Liverpool questions. Let's not start with Stevie. Let's go to Gab. Should Real Madrid start benching CR7 for terrible performances like they're doing with Benzema?
No, because he would then get really, really upset and get a chip on his shoulder. And yes, his performances haven't been good, but he's just one of many, I think, who's part of the problem. I think what's coming to the fore here is that in some ways it's not great that Gareth Bale's back, because it's really, really difficult to find the right balance if you've got Bale and Cristiano in your team, and having balance off the ball. And that's something that Zidane needs to rediscover now that Bale is fit again.
Okay, fair point, but they haven't been good with or without Bale. When Bale was gone, they weren't good.
Yeah.
Bale comes back, he scores a couple of goals, but still they have issues in the back. The issues
You're
for
going to
Real.
just sell Ronaldo somewhere. Just get rid of him.
Well, they should have done that.
Stop it! It's Ronaldo you're talking about.
What,
He
Gary?
won the Ballon d'Or. Have some respect. He has 5 Ballon d'Ors.
Oh my
Nobody has more Ballon d'Ors than Ronaldo. Stop it.
So what? He's done.
Not yet.
By the way, how did you say that you were going to sell him?
Just get rid of him.
Just like that. You know.
Drive him out to the forest, put a mirror out there, and then just be happy.
Whoa, whoa! And you're the Real Madrid fan.
It's enough now. Does Coutinho sale liquefy Liverpool's position in the top 4, or does it vaporise?
If I knew what you were talking about, I would answer.
So you said about solidifying, Stephen.
Aye, I
With the-
used that word, yes.
So what does now the
Other states
the
have
sale of
matter.
Well, that's
Coutinho?
certainly
What, here we are,
dead
rocket
set.
scientists.
With the signing of Van Dijk, along with having Coutinho there, for me it definitely solidified the top 4.
So what happens now?
Well, it's
Liquefy,
really
vaporise?
knocked a dent in that. Big dent.
How big a dent?
Big.
Really?
Enough to
Big dent.
liquefy.
Really?
enough to liquefy or vaporize?
I don't know what other than mean.
So on the balance of things, if VVD is as good as we hope, are Liverpool a hint better, even with a loss of Coutinho?
Who can that be? One's a forward and one's a defender.
Yeah, but Lawrence is suggesting...
They're definitely better defensively, but they're weaker going forward.
But, so in the overall picture...
Exactly.
Well, let's put it a different way, right? There was certainly more need for a defender. They have other options going forward. Not as good as Coutinho, but they have other options. You know, Mane,
So are Liverpool... Stevie, why are you complicating this? Are Liverpool better now, or were they better...
How can they be better when they've lost Coutinho?
Right, that's
How's
it,
that
that's the
possible?
answer. Just say that then.
I did.
They're worse.
I did.
So you said they'd finished second before. Where are they
No,
going to finish now?
I didn't say they'd finish second at all.
Stevie's getting angry now, Steve. Stevie's getting ready, Stevie.
Dan's
I thought you were going to call him a little man.
Dan does.
Stop telling me that, you little man. You're a little man. You're a little man.
Second.
For asking me that question.
Right.
Easy, Stevie.